Welcome back. The ongoing controversies over gender pay at the BBC and RTE raise important issues. The focus on salaries of well-known broadcasters may not seem like a rallying campaign for the masses, but discrepancies have been evidenced across all industries, sparking a wider debate.
Joining us to discuss are Orla O'Connor, Director of the National Women's Council of Ireland, and Senator Grace O'Sullivan. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning.
For joining us. Orla, let me come to you first. This is a conversation that's dominated our news all week, and for good reason, but it's not a new conversation, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, there has been a gender pay gap in Ireland for a very long time, and it's persistent, and we're not reducing it. In fact, it's increased. So we've got a pay gap of between 14 to 15%. And there's three reasons for the pay gap. And I think what we've seen recently is a focus, which is one of the reasons, and that is the number of women at senior positions in companies, that there's much more men at senior positions in comparison to women. But there are other reasons as well, and particularly in terms of there's much more women in low-paid employment in comparison to men. So low pay is a key issue here as well as that senior level. And then the big issue in the middle of it all is the issue of care. So because much more women take time out because of caring reasons in comparison to men. So care impacts care work, care responsibilities, impact on women and women's choices in employment in a way that doesn't impact on men. So they're the sort of three key reasons. It's the whole issue around low pay, women being in low pay jobs, care, and then women not being at senior level, even though in areas where women make up the majority of the workforce, and we can see that in the recent HEA in relation to universities in Ireland,
yes.
Majority of the workforce in universities, but yet still at a minority when it comes to senior level and professorships.
So why is it, though, that in this day and age women are still earning less? Why is that gender gap there? I mean, we've had parity in education for a long time now. The parity of opportunity has improved a lot. There's something obviously still not connecting, but what is it?
Well, it's a combination of things. So there isn't one reason. So okay, if we look at that, like at senior level, so why aren't there more women at senior positions? And there are a few reasons in that. One is issues around direct discrimination, where women simply are not getting the same promotional opportunities in comparison to men. And then there is the issue of care, because women are taking time out, and when they go back in, they're going back in at a lower level.
Let's take an example, right? So if a woman has had a child, right, and she decides she's going to work a 4-day a week, is that going to stymie her opportunities to rise up the ladder in organisations typically?
Well, the fact is it shouldn't. But yes, that is one of the reasons for the pay gap. So yes, women are at a disadvantage because of the care responsibilities they take.
But suddenly the male on paper looks much more attractive than the female who works the 4-day week and has other commitments.
Is it quietly being said, Grace, in boardrooms around the country, oh, for God's sake, look, if you promote a woman, especially one of childbearing age, we're only going to bring, a world of trouble on ourselves. There's going to be kind of inconsistency. She's not going to be in work. Let's stick with the men. Is that a philosophy that still exists, do you think?
Look, I think there is still a culture, and that's evidenced by the fact that we're here today talking about a gender pay gap. And, as Orla was saying, it's significant. There's a range between 13% and more. So I don't think people should fear it. I think that it's currently unjust because there is a disparity. Why? In this day and age. So I think we know that women contribute so much to the workforce. We know that the gender differences are adding more value to the outcomes and the output of companies. So I don't think people should fear. I think we need to get on with this. We need to legislate for this, and we need to see it happening.
I look always, as we tend to do, to Scandinavia when you look at any of these kind of societal issues, and looking at Sweden, where the cost of childcare is topped out per month at something like €130 is as much as you will pay. So that suddenly puts a huge... the reason a lot of women, and a few men, but a lot of women, are taking time out of the workforce is because childcare is so bloody expensive. So even if you're to address that, is that not a very good...
It is.
It's a good starting point.
That's a critical way of really addressing this. And there has been, the Minister, Catherine Zappone, Minister for Children, has introduced the affordable childcare scheme, but it needs much more investment to make childcare affordable. We also need in this budget to significantly increase the minimum wage, which would start to tackle some of the low pay issue. But I think, you know, one of the important things that has come out in recent reports in relation to RTE and also in relation to the BBC is the publication within companies of the positions within the companies, the pay that goes alongside those positions, and then the gender breakdown.
And I think it's very important for people not to get hung up on, she's on 350 grand. I mean, the number is irrelevant, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about the discrepancy.
Exactly, and it's about transparency as well, and people knowing that what are the pay grades when they go in there, what are the incremental steps that they can take, and then that being applied, be it male or female.
The other thing outside of the salary is the discrepancy between the bonuses of male to female, which is a gigantic gap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think in a study last year, it was saying that, well, why you have a pay gap of about 14%, but yet when you put in bonuses, you're up to about 20%. And they're the least transparent. So in terms of, you know, women trying to negotiate bonuses, when you don't know what everyone else is getting, that becomes much more difficult, and also if your pay level is lower. So again, it is about trying to really open up that transparency issue. But also, and I think it is really important, that where public money is involved, we need to be looking at much more proactive measures. So for example, one of the things that the National Women's Council is saying is that where there's public money involved, we should be looking at tying some of that public money to seeing, first of all, the gender information, but also then if actions aren't being taken to change it, to reduce it, then sanctions should be applied.
It's one area where the public can really lead the public sector and the state-supported sector can really lead the way in that transparency. But Grace, trying to ask this to private companies to do the same thing, we don't have the authority over them that we might have over public companies or state companies, because it's their money, so they do what they will choose within reason.
Well, recently there was a debate. Ivana Bacik of the Labour Party, Senator Ivana, brought forward legislation. It's the Human Rights and Equality Commission Gender Pay Gap Bill 2017, and that would oblige companies, so they would be mandated to show the transparency in their practices. But I think one area we shouldn't forget here is the pensions, the impact on pensions further down the line. So women who have been discriminated upon up to this, then in their pensions they're seeing lower pension amounts, and that's causing a poverty amongst women later on in their lives.
It's that knock-on effect for the rest of their life.
So I think the real thing here is it's not just about the high paid and the people in RTE and the people in BBC that have brought it to the media attention now, but it's the impact on lower incomes as well. So
but when you say transparent and for private companies, as you say, and they're not bound to do this, how do they do it to let female employees know that there is a scale that, you know, do they publish salaries or do they make it a little more vague than that?
Well, they should have. I mean, they should have their pay scales. They should have their incremental rises as you go up through the career path. And that should be transparent. That should be available to anyone coming into the company. In fact, it should be like a pull into the company, because if the company is seen as doing the right thing, people will want to work for them, and then we'll see the culture change.
Can I ask a quick, probably final question on this? When it came to Brian Dobson and Sharon Ní Bheoláin, there was an admission that there was a gap between what she was earning and what he was earning. Is there any argument to put forward that, well, then he is a lot older than her, he is in the position a lot longer, so therefore he deserves to be paid more?
Yeah, but also you have to look at the responsibilities of the job. So in that particular case where Sharon has a similar workload, of course, in terms of incremental rise, that goes according to your experience. So that's fair enough. But then when it comes coupled with responsibilities, you have to weigh it up on that basis as well. So, I mean, time, obviously, if someone's in the job a longer time and they have more experience, you could consider that's one of the reasons why they would receive or they'd be up in income. But it's justifiable. But it shouldn't. What we're seeing here is disparity. We're seeing discrimination. We're seeing discrimination on the women of Ireland, and we need change.
Okay, Grace Orla, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.